All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing our next review for Tales of the Walking Dead Season 1. Now for Episode 4, this one is called Amy slash Dr. Everett. Alright dudes, so I definitely wanted to go ahead and continue with the Tales of the Walking Dead Season 1 reviews. We might as well finish the first season, do reviews for all 6 of these episodes over the next couple weeks here. So this is now Episode 4. So going into this episode, you guys told me in the stream on Sunday that this is a good one. And heads up for Sunday nights, if you want to join one of the streams, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, I try to go at if we have a topic. If you don't see me by about 9:30 or 10, you can pretty much assume that we're not going to do a stream that day because I might be doing reviews or something else. But Sunday nights, if you want to join. People told me, like, this one is a good episode. Amy slash Dr. Everett, episode 4 for Tales is really good. And you guys are right, man. This one is a really amazing episode for Tales. I have to say it's the best episode so far, which is very, very surprising, considering that we had the Alpha episode, considering we already saw the Terry Crews, Olivia Munn episode. So you have two, huge actors there for the premiere episode. And surprisingly, this episode is better than all the ones prior. You guys know Episode 2, not very good, but I did fail to mention that they actually paired Episode 2 and 3 together, which I had not noticed. I did the review for Episode 2, and I didn't notice that the Alpha episode was actually released on premiere at the same time. So it makes sense that they did that because Episode 2 was weaker. They released the Alpha episode, Episode 3, with it. But this episode, Episode 4, is better than all the prior episodes, I think, for Tales. And this one really got to show, I think, the strength of what they can do with Tales of the Walking Dead, because they can have these limited story episodes, and you don't have to have every character survive the said episodes, right? Like if you meet a character in an episode, spoiler warning for this review if you haven't seen the episode yet, it doesn't necessarily mean that both Amy and Dr. Everett or any of the other characters, the two named from the episode, are going to necessarily survive out the episode for newer characters, right? Obviously, we know Alpha survives out that time because we've seen Walking Dead, but for the newer characters, no guarantees that every character we're introduced to is going to survive out, the whole episode there in the ones that are introduced in. So this one really surprised me. I thought the ending was also very shocking. Like I said, spoilers, but this was such an incredibly well done episode for two new characters for us to see. Amy, for example, comes across sort of, at least at the beginning of the episode, as kind of like this annoying sort of extra talkative, young girl who is annoying to a degree, Dr. Everett. But then Dr. Everett also comes across at certain times of the episode as like this kind of crazy, whacked out, sort of mad scientist doctor gone awry kind of deal. But by the end of the episode, the way they ended it off in such a way where definitely vindicating for both. Because in the last few minutes of this episode, we see Amy put herself in harm's way and do absolutely anything to protect her group, even when she's warned that there's a herd on the way towards them, and that she can't get in the way, otherwise she will end up being, it will be her demise as well. And spoilers, like I said, the scene at the end, we do see that Dr. Everett actually ends up finding her in her zombified form. So he warned her, she didn't listen, and so she ends up being killed off. But he also has a part 2 where he comes across really strange, which is that he is trying to save his Specimen 21, which is a fellow, I think he was a scientist as well, that was important to Dr. Everett, that he had met in the kind of research. It's almost like a treehouse thing, post, like an advanced treehouse post thing that he's staying in, which basically keeps him pretty much safe. Like, I don't think that he really has to concern himself with walkers at all, really. He seems like he has totally, I would say, completely changed for the world, and he's figured out kind of a system in a remote area where with his post he can basically survive indefinitely out the rest of his life. And the only time he really puts himself in harm's way is to conduct the different studies or experiments that he's doing on the walkers. And it does seem like he's found out some pretty cool things. He does seem like he's gone a little crazy though, like when you have specimen 21, which is killed by a crocodile or alligator, whatever that is. And he's like almost ready to dive in the water after him. And Amy kind of, talks some sense into him and kind of brings him back so he doesn't get himself killed for no reason, just for some random zombie or something. So both characters are very intriguing in this episode. They both have their kind of weird quirks, and at the same time, they're both very likable in different ways. They're layered. They're more complex to where you have Dr. Everett, like he makes a lot of sense in a lot of things he stands for, but at the same time, you can kind of tell he's also maybe grown too close to the walkers. Like you get a sense that he himself has almost become one, kind of in the Whisperer-esque type of idea of becoming just like them. But he seems to have developed some kind of affection for them in that he's been alone for so long in this post, away from everybody else, away from the closing himself off from the world. And as a result, it seems like he doesn't really seem to like people anymore. He doesn't really seem to like humans, which you can understand given the Walking Dead universe after however long it's been that he's been there for. If he comes across people, they may be a danger to him, right? He's not a part of any group, so he has to kind of watch out for himself. But at the same time, by closing himself off entirely, he has lost a lot of his humanity, or his, he seems to be more affectionate towards the dead, towards zombies, than he is people, which is, I have to say, I think that's a new one. Yeah. So I really like Dr. Everett. I thought he was an incredible character. I'd even be interested to see more with him if they were going to do another episode, like in season 2 for Tales, if he decides that it's time for him to move on or something. Because at some point after a really, really long period of time, maybe the effect that Amy has on him will make him realize that, like, damn, he does really need to, kind of maybe, I know there's risks involved with going and meeting people and stuff, but that might be something that's really good for him, because it feels like he's been remote too long, and even though he's safe and he's not really in danger, he's kind of become almost a nothing in the world. He's doing this research and all this stuff, but who's going to find that? Who's going to ever see that? Or even recognize, even if they did stumble into his place, even recognize what it is that they're even looking at or see any value in it. So he's a super interesting character. At the same time, as you have these two really intriguing characters, and we'll get into Amy after, right? But you have also kind of some awesome maybe narration in this episode from Dr. Everett, kind of relating to real life and kind of the green ideas of nature and like regreening, right? Which is one of the kind of the common things. Leave room for nature, regreen. This whole concept, and the nature of life and death, which is an unfortunate, sad aspect to our lives, that at some point everybody unfortunately does die, right? Everybody does pass on at some point. None of us are going to be getting out of this game alive, unfortunately, right? So, and that's nature. That's the way the system is set up. That's the way the system is designed, that you incarnate into our reality. You live out a life of however long that's going to be, hopefully a good one. And then at some point you pass on, right? And as you do, I guess further generations continue on. But he kind of, so you have Dr. Everett, such an interesting character. He comes across as like sometimes when I will listen to different in real life, we'll listen to different internationalists and kind of their viewpoint and stuff like this. It's very similar to Dr. Everett in this episode, where he really loves nature. He loves the remote wilderness and that kind of thing, and he has developed a kind of a distaste for humanity and what it does. So the episode kind of plays through as like a commentary almost on humanity, on nature, on life and death, and on people, and kind of the question of, are people really that great, that whole kind of thing. So it brings in, it's very smart. This is an incredibly intelligent episode for Walking Dead, and it's one that is definitely a memorable one, considering what's happening in real life as well, with all of the push towards all the green stuff, trying to move away from fossil fuels, just everything that's going to be happening in terms of the green stuff moving forward, which is going to be a huge concentration for all the rest of us in the future here, the way things are shaping up, and kind of the different agenda pieces that some of the most powerful corporations and people in the world are looking towards. Dr. Everett plays as a really interesting character that seems to have some truth for it, but even the commentary from Amy is that he kind of creates rules when it makes sense for him, and she calls him a hypocrite. So this is a damn smart episode. Whoever wrote this one clearly knows their stuff, and clearly, from both sides, it's really, really, really well done. That's all I can say. I might watch it back again another time here, because that's how smart it is. I have to think about it some more. It's almost like giving you two perspectives, and almost a commentary on humanity, on nature, on the good and bad of people, and why you can see different people looking at things in different perspectives. Kind of the atheistic, scientific perspective on things and on people, and sort of the maybe Amy being a commentary piece on humanity and the great, the loving, caring, great side of humanity, but unfortunate to see her fate at the end of this episode. So we got skull collectors in here, which are pretty cool. I guess they're I think he said they're being used for some kind of group's propaganda or something, to take all these zombie skulls, collect them, and then they put them around to scare people into I don't know, in some way or something. And so you can see why Dr. Everett also wants nothing to do with that. And we have seen many groups in The Walking Dead that are pretty brutal, right? You've seen the governor with zombie heads and fish tanks. You've seen groups like a Terminus and many, many others that are pretty savage and pretty brutal. You can see why he would want to become kind of reclusive, and it's just so well done, right? So in terms of Amy, so I think that Amy is like a tragic character in this episode. At the beginning, she kind of comes across as sort of like annoying and whatnot, and that she's kind of annoying him, right? Because he doesn't really necessarily want her around. He kind of wants her to leave, but then at the same time, he views her as like, maybe, he's not going to be there forever, so maybe he could use her as an apprentice and somebody that could take his work and maybe give it to others or something. But she wants to go and save her group and such, so she's not willing to do that. So he also has a zombie skin jacket, which I think is like brutally awesome and gross at the same time. So Dr. Everett has a jacket that's fastened out of the skin of the walkers, which is why they really don't bother him, right? He literally just puts this zombie skin thing on, puts the hood on. There's even a hood made of zombie skin, right? And they leave him alone, which is really, really clever and awesome. He's got all these little gadgets, like a drone and some kind of recording equipment and stuff like this, and it's all green, so it lasts, right? Because he's so remote and stuff. He must have, I don't know, solar or something like this to power the stuff, recharge it and everything. So he's like the perfect survivor in a zombie apocalypse, but somebody that's so independent that they just at the same time, he's kind of turned away from humanity almost entirely. So the episode is fairly exciting all the way through, but it's just so damn smart and so so thought provoking in terms of what's going on in the world now and different perspectives. So I absolutely loved it. I think Dr. Everett is one of the coolest characters. I think he's the coolest new character that's been introduced into Walking Dead, like Tales of Walking Dead. He's the best introductory character so far. And Amy is kind of a tragic character as well, where I'd say maybe in the end of the episode, I kind of like her more than Dr. Everett, and you kind of would wish that she would survive and she would have made it, just because of she seems like a really good person and everything like that. So is what it is. But there's also the crazy scene, which is so weird, where he's like holding her back and telling her to let nature take its course instead of her going and helping the people that are members of her group that she knows, right? And she like bites them to get off her so she can go and help one of them or whatnot. I'm not sure if that person survived or not, but man, it's just such an awesome episode. I'm gonna give it a perfect 10. It's definitely the best episode of Tales. It's extremely thought provoking. It's maybe like one of the most thought provoking episodes of Walking Dead ever. And I just think it's just freaking pure genius, man. Absolutely pure genius. I love these like these mad doctor type of characters that you see in different series sometimes. For example, Dr. Frankenstein in Dawn of the Dead. No, Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead. Dr. Frankenstein is one of the doctors there in that movie, and he's like studying them and stuff like that. But Dr. Everett is like the equivalent for Walking Dead. And he's just, even brings in the questions of the green stuff and nature and people and the good and bad of people. It's like that stupid song of, could be a paradise and you put up a parking lot, right? That kind of thing, which is probably also propaganda as well, right? That's why they play the damn song still, even though it's like it's awfully, I hate it every time I hear it in grocery stores and stuff. I'm like, or at the Shoppers Drug Mart or something, like, oh, I hate this effing song. It's kind of true though, but I just hate the song. Anyway, so those are my thoughts on the episode. I was blown away by it. I thought it was amazing. Comments below. What did you guys think about it, and what do you think of the different perspectives between like her perspective on humanity and his? But it's such a like traumatic scene to watch him try to hold her back from helping out the people that are part of her group that she just wants to help. So he comes across like a bad guy, but then he ends up kind of being right later, which is really odd. It's a commentary on life and death that as much as you try to hold on, eventually you can't anyway. So, I don't know. It's an awesome episode. Really, really awesome episode. Comments below. That's it for this one. Subscribe at the bottom if you're new. Thumbs up below if you appreciate the review. Thanks for all your support, guys. I'll see you again soon for another Trev saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon.